I'm Ashton Addison from EventChain for Investmentpitch Media and FinTech News Network. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Nick Percoco, the Chief Security Officer of Kraken Exchange. Nick, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. It'd be great if you could start by explaining a little bit on how you got into cryptocurrency and your role as a security officer, and what attracted you to become the Chief Security Officer of Kraken.
Yeah, so I've been Chief Security Officer of Kraken for about a year and a half. But prior to that, I have a pretty lengthy career in security itself. I started out my career in the 90s doing ethical hacking, penetration testing for banks and various trading exchanges and financial firms and hospitals and things like that all over the world. And founded some companies and contributed to developing some security products, really all in the security space. And then recently, a couple years ago, I got in contact with Jesse Powell and other folks at Kraken, and it became really interesting to go someplace where the challenge is much greater and the stakes are much higher than, say, protecting the security of a manufacturing company or a small local bank or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Kraken is a global crypto exchange, 4 million customers all over the world, 200 different countries that operate, and we operate 24/7. And so the opportunity to go and take the reins of security at one of the oldest and considered one of the most secure cryptocurrency exchanges in the world was a really, really unique opportunity, and I jumped at the chance.
That's great, Nick. And cryptocurrency as a growing industry security is super important, especially because there's all this technical expertise that people are unfamiliar. Even tech people can be fooled by things that are going on in the cryptocurrency industry because it's so new, and some people are they see something and they believe something that may not be in their best interest, but you guys are taking, with Kraken, a lot of great security approaches. Can you talk a little bit about why security is such an important area for crypto investors in this new industry?
Yeah, certainly. I think one piece that most investors, when they first get into crypto, or maybe even consumers when they get into crypto, don't quite understand is that the possession of your private keys is paramount. Many people don't understand that because they're used to the more traditional financial world where your money is basically a number in a spreadsheet someplace at a bank. And in the crypto space, you actually get a chance to hold on to it and have it in your hand, or it exists, and you can take 100% possession of that. Well, when you combine that with the number of different threats that exist to individuals, if you're someone who's very sloppy with your security, say you never patch your own system, you choose weak passwords, and you just are very fast and loose with your personal security, when that intersects with crypto, it can be a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
If someone takes that private key or that wallet from you, all of your crypto is now gone and is in the possession of those criminals.
Totally, and it is possible, and to hold funds on an exchange where people are holding them, but they don't realize that exchange also has access to their private keys. In order to trade those coins between coins, they need to have access to the private keys as well. So leaving coins on an exchange, if that exchange is compromised, then so are the private keys as well, right?
Yeah, certainly. And when we speak to our customers and our clients around the world, we often talk about only leaving the crypto on an exchange or even our exchange for what you need in your trading. So, for example, say you have 100 Bitcoin and you're only going to trade with 1 or 2 Bitcoin on a regular basis. Well, keep 98% of those or 98 of those in a hardware wallet in your own cold storage. Place that in a safe or a vault someplace and only access it when you absolutely need it.
That's great. And that sort of leads to the next question. What do you recommend for crypto investors to protect themselves? What are the necessary precautions to take to ensure that their funds are always safe?
Yeah, first comes down to just basic personal security. So if you are creating an account at an exchange, make sure that you're choosing a unique username, a unique password for that exchange. If that exchange has the ability, like Kraken does, to enable 2FA, making sure that you're enabling two-factor authentication on your account. Avoid things like SMS two-factor authentication, but stick to things like Google Authenticator or a YubiKey in order to actually secure your account. And then, turn on everything you can from a security point of view, and pay attention to when you get an email that says a withdrawal is actually happening. Pay attention to those types of things and make sure that you're aware of what's happening within your account. And then, of course, if you are going to use an exchange to buy cryptocurrency, don't keep it all there. Transfer it back to something like a hardware wallet. Make sure you've secured that hardware wallet, and then keep that offline. And then also pay attention to the systems and the devices that you use to access your exchange account and the hardware wallet. It really does you no good if you have a really old computer that has been patched in 3 years that might be, have a ton of different pieces of malware or botnet, technology, sort of embedded in it or sort of infested there. And now you're accessing your exchange account, because a lot of that malware will do things like keystroke log and basically send your username and password to the criminals. And the next thing they do is they log into your account and try to exfiltrate all your funds from your account.
Yeah, that's great information. And it just goes to show that it's not just, make sure you have a secure password and make sure the exchange isn't compromised, because if any of your backup emails or your 2FA, as you said, with the SMS, I've heard of many crypto investors, more than a few, that have had their phones jacked from the phone company. And then once you have access to one email, they use that to slither their way through another email and reset your password to get access to your account.
Yeah, a big target for the criminals is either your phone, and specifically your phone number, doing a SIM swap where they actually call up the telco, or they pay someone inside a telco to swap your phone number to another SIM, so they can then get access to the SMS messages that would normally be going to your phone. That's one target for criminals. And another, actually a more juicier target in many cases, is your email. And so if you have an email account, with whatever provider, you need to make sure that you are choosing unique passwords and enabling 2FA on those email accounts. Because as a criminal, if I put on the criminal hat, if I get into your email account, it's essentially the hub of your entire life. And I can go and start resetting passwords, approving things just from that email account. And your security and your financial security falls apart pretty quickly when that happens.
Definitely. Well, I've heard that Kraken is one of the most trusted and secure exchanges around, and it has been for a long time. So do you guys have any unique value propositions on why it's so secure, or you just guys have all the functions needed to protect people's funds?
Yeah, I think the big differentiator is that we don't treat security as just one small team off in the corner of an office. Every one of our employees goes through extensive security training, personal security training, security awareness, and people live and breathe and act like essentially we work at a security company. And so people within our company are Krakenites, essentially are what we would call productively paranoid in their existence within our company. And so anything that looks out of the ordinary, anything that may be suspicious, or anything that they're not sure of in order if they're going to do something, they circle back and consult, and my team specifically gets to be advisors to many aspects of our business, where in traditional companies, security just comes knocking and asking questions and maybe does an audit every once in a while. We're very, very collaborative with every department within Kraken.
That's great to hear. And maybe you could elaborate on how big is your team now? Are you guys centrally located as well?
So we are not centrally located. Our company is a global company, and we have people all over the world. My team is no different from that. We have 45 people today in security, which is a fairly large number for a company of around 800 employees, and it's growing. And so I've built teams in the past, high performing, very, very highly focused security teams in the past. And it's not just security. When we talk about security at Kraken, we have people who are experts in application security. We have people who are experts in doing detection and response activities. And I have experts that are essentially hackers, right? We call them our red team, and they basically hack us on a regular basis. And so we all wear different hats within security, and we're all very, very focused on those specific groups and those specific tasks to ensure from many, many angles and many, many aspects that we maintain the high level of security that we're known for.
Wow. And you also have the Kraken Security Labs initiative as well. What do you guys focus on that project?
Yeah, Kraken Security Labs is an initiative that we launched last year, and it really stems a lot from my background. I mentioned earlier that I was in the security industry for a number of years, actually a couple of decades, and I was very deep in security research for a long period of time. And so when I joined Kraken, I had an idea to basically launch a security research initiative that doesn't focus on our internal systems and our own devices. They basically flip around and focus on the technology and devices that our clients may use. So things like hardware wallets, software wallets, other software technology. We essentially are very focused on things that intersect with the cryptocurrency community to find flaws, to responsibly disclose that those flaws to the vendors, collaborate with the vendors on a fix to their problem, and then talk about this with the community. And so essentially to raise awareness to our clients that maybe there's a flaw in something that they rely on. Maybe they think, well, hey, this hardware wallet is where I should keep all of my funds. It's bulletproof. No one's ever going to get into it. And oh, by the way, there's a potential flaw there that doesn't pose immediate danger to you and bring you at risk. But you need to be aware that if you perhaps maybe lose that hardware wallet, a criminal doesn't just look at that and say, oh, there's no way I can get into it. There may be a way. And so you need to really understand that, understand your threat model, and a better way to protect yourself in those situations.
Well, that's super great that you guys are looking out for the community and outside of the Kraken Exchange as well, and the interacting partners. That's amazing. And speaking of hardware wallets, I did see that the Security Labs recently saw a flaw in, was it the Keep Key wallet? Can you explain how that happened, and is that fixed, or they just brought that to the attention of the community?
Yeah, so that's something that we did research on. We actually have an initiative right now where we're looking at many different types of hardware wallets. The Keep Key one was just the first one that we actually did a disclosure on, but there's more to come. Essentially, what we wanted to find out is what would it take if a hardware wallet specifically was lost and got into the hands of an adversary or a criminal. And the folks that we have within Kraken Security Labs went very deep technical hardware hacking techniques, basically trying to extract and glitch chips that are within the wallet. Essentially, then try to be able to crack a pin that's associated with it and extract the seeds. And so we were successful at doing so. We reported it to Keep Key. They were great in the responsiveness, and they are there's things that they're working on in order to fix that problem, because it is a hardware flaw. It's a little more difficult to just put out a software patch. There are some vendors we're talking to where a software fix, especially in like a mobile app, is the real solution, obviously. Now, the big piece there is really to raise awareness. Now, to be able to understand as a client, I have this device, I have to make sure I don't lose it, right? And I make sure to keep it in my possession. That was the big piece there. But essentially, we're doing this with lots of different hardware wallets, trying to find flaws. I'm trying to report these to the vendors, really to push the envelope. I did this in the non-cryptocurrency community for a number of years, where various large vendors, whether it's places like Google or Apple or Microsoft, where myself and my team in a previous life, when I ran Spider Labs, we would disclose vulnerabilities all the time to those types of vendors and really try to improve security and push the envelope there. Every time we find something, everybody learns, we learn, the vendor learns, the developers of those products learn, and the community learns on what not to do and ways to improve the entire ecosystem.
That's awesome, Nick. I'm glad you guys are pushing the envelope and keeping everybody else on their toes, as they should be, as more people start getting into cryptocurrency, especially with the prices rising. People that aren't normally into investing or knowing how to manage funds all of a sudden start getting interested and see Kraken and come on and get some cryptocurrency. And what do you think is the biggest challenge for you guys as the industry continues to grow and new people that are non-technical start getting into the industry?
Yeah, I think for us, it's trying to make the security UX, so the security experience, whether it's within our exchange or also working with the community, make it simpler, make it just as effective or even more effective, but make it simpler for someone to use. It shouldn't be chock full of jargon. It shouldn't be confusing. Yeah. It shouldn't be, broken screens and buggy, when you're trying to, load the crypto, send the crypto to your own wallet. And it shouldn't be error prone, right? Mm-hmm. That's a big challenge, right? Being able to go through and make that very, very clean and simple and as effective or even more effective than what we see today for the everyday user, I think is the real challenge. And mm-hmm. I think us and many other companies are making strides in that way, but there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit of a techie myself, but the user experience for me on Kraken has been great so far. So it looks like you guys are doing a great job, and keep that up. And we're running out of time for the interview, but how can the viewers learn more information or follow along with the security labs or just learn more about Kraken?
Sure. Obviously, learn more about Kraken at Kraken.com. You can follow along what we have going on within our security labs. We do blog posts every couple of weeks, and that's blog.kraken.com. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter as well. So it's Kraken at KrakenFX is the handle for us on Twitter.
Great. I'll leave those links in the description box below. Thank you so much for your time, Nick. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and let's follow up in the near future.
Yeah, thanks for having me.